This video is to address court packing. What is it and what isn't it? There's been a lot of discussion of court packing recently, and some of you may know what it is and some may not. Some of you also may know that the Supreme Court's size is not something that was established by the Constitution. Instead, it sort of came about through evolution, one might say. We only had 6 Supreme Court justices originally. The number has been as high at 10 at one point, and once again as low as 6, 7, once again 9, and then 10. It's fluctuated. Mostly during the 1860s to give more appointments to Abraham Lincoln, later to deny them to his successor, Andrew Johnson, the 17th president, and then to Grant to give him the opportunity to put more. And it was with Grant, they sort of settled in back at 9, and it's been there since 1869 under our 18th president, Ulysses Simpson Grant. So, court packing. We currently have 9 Supreme Court justices. And once again, as I said, that's not a number that's set in stone. It could be changed simply by passing a law. Not an executive order, not anything else. It would have to be a law. It would have to pass through both the House and Senate, and it would need to win by at least a simple majority. The history of court packing, as people are now discussing it, goes back to a bill called the Judicial Procedures Reform Bill. And what it would have done, this would be in 1937, in the second administration of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, our 33rd president, he had become frustrated because he was facing an older and more conservative Supreme Court, and he was trying to push through the New Deal. And a lot of those things are being struck down as unconstitutional. So what he was proposing to do was to appeal to the American people in his fireside chats and then lean on Congress to allow him to, not just at the Supreme Court level, but at other federal court levels, to, if there was a place where there were justices who were at least 70 years and 6 months of age and had served for 10 or more years, he would be allowed to add an extra justice. And his reasoning, or at least his outward reasoning, what he discussed, was to speed things up, that these older judges were having trouble keeping up with their workload. And there was actually not that much to support that, but it was his contention that that was the case. Well, to say that things did not go well for him regarding this is to put it mildly. In addition to Republicans reacting very negatively to this, a lot of Democrats, including his own vice president at that time, the man they called Cactus Jack, John Vance of Texas, was his vice president at that point, broke with him so strongly that he actually opposed FDR in the next election, and of course he was replaced by Henry Wallace on the ticket, and then FDR obviously won his third and then finally a fourth and final election shortly before his death. So, back to court packing. So what this means is you're attempting to dilute, reduce, pick a word, the power of the votes of the current justices or current federal judges. And you're trying to, you're not going to bring in new justices that are going to be opposed to your way of seeing things or thinking things. Now, many have asked why none of the people at the top of the current Democratic ticket are willing to discuss, or at least discuss exactly where their views are. Well, 2 reasons. One is they don't want to be boxed in, but nothing in Biden's past, Joe Biden has not indicated any, and he's been talking about this at various times, going back to his days even in the Senate, nothing he's said in his past indicate that he'd be actually likely to do it. But he obviously still wants to have that option and not be called a liar. So if you study his record, going back obviously 47 years, he's been there, everything he said about things about changing the number of justices seems to indicate that he's not a fan of that actual idea. And whether you like him or dislike him, he's pretty much a traditionalist when it comes to the role of the various branches of government, and I will be not shocked, but at least surprised if he gives any serious thought to this, if he does indeed get elected. And additionally, much like with FDR, I think there's a pretty good chance that he'd get pushback, not just externally, but even within his own party, if he attempted to make a fundamental change like this. And when he's talked about it in the past, he's talked about the sort of the law of unintended consequences, that if you do this now, what happens when the next administration that comes in, that is the opposing party, now they are going to be more likely to be emboldened to want to do something similar, and then further dilute and further increase and, frankly, start to erode the independence of the judiciary. So I don't think that's something he's really going to do. But once again, he does want to have, I guess, that wiggle room if he wants to move forward on it. I don't do a lot of political videos. I am a junkie. I mean, I love politics. I grew up with a mother who was a political science major. I've been reading political cartoons since I was literally 5 years old. And then when I was a little bit older, I actually started reading the newspaper. But I generally try to stay to my lane, which is usually talking sports. But if there's actual interest in knowing more about this, if somebody responds or indicates they want to hear more, I'll be more than happy to do more like this. Thank you so much.